Okay, good evening, everybody. We'll go ahead and get this evening's meeting underway. I'd like to call it to order Thursday, May 10th, 2018, Sac Metro Fire Board of Directors meeting. I'd like to call it to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Orzali, if you would, please. Thank you, everybody. This open session meeting is videotaped and cablecast on Metro Cable 14 replay on Monday, May 14, 2018 at 6 p.m. and Wednesday, May 16, 2018 at 4 p.m. on Channel 14. Also a webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district's website at www.metrofire.ca.gov. Right now is an opportunity for the members of the public to discuss matters with interest on or not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
There are no speakers this evening.
Thank you very much. And moving on, but prior to getting to the consent items, we will be moving, everybody take note, closed session item number 1 off the agenda this evening to a later date. With that being noted, moving on to the consent items. Do we have any questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Director Gale.
Where's the chief tonight?
I'm sorry, if we could just get, no, I understand, sir. Can we get through the motion
beg
first?
pardon?
Can we get through the motion first?
I'll pass.
Thank you.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
And Barnes.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We will be moving on to the action items with action item number 1, Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission, selections for Consolidation Redevelopment Oversight Board. Madam Clerk.
Good evening, directors and Chief Casantini. Before you this evening, there is the option to select the representative and alternate representative for the Local Agency Formation Commission for the Special District Representative to the Consolidated Redevelopment Oversight Board. As you may remember, on March 22nd, you nominated our CFO Amanda Thomas and Jeff Fry as the alternate. And before you this evening is the opportunity to vote for them into those positions. You will notice in your packet that Amanda did have some contest in the election. All the information was included. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and I'll take those now.
Thank you very much. Before we move on, I apologize for the disruption, but if we can please make note that Director Gale has left the meeting unannounced. But thank you for informing us on that. Are there any questions from the board or any suggestions? Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to nominate our Chief Financial Officer, Amanda Thomas, to fulfill the Special District Representative on the Oversight Committee for the redevelopment. The other candidates are very good people, I know them. However, she overwhelmingly is the most qualified, having served years with redevelopment agencies, both on the county board as well as the city of Citrus Heights. And I would be very proud to be able to nominate her, as well as, if we're taking them in tandem, Jeff Fry as the alternate.
Can we take them in tandem, or do we have to go individually?
You're welcome to take them together as one motion.
Very
I
good.
second the motion.
Any comments or questions prior to? My apologies. If not, we have a motion and a second.
Okay, I'll have just a point of clarification. It is a motion to cast the vote,
Correct.
not to nominate. They've already been nominated.
That was my mistake, right, to cast a vote for Amanda Thomas for Special District Representative for the Consolidated Redevelopment Oversight Board, as well as Jeff Fry as the alternate.
Second stands.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for the clarification.
All right, I'll go ahead and call roll. Director Gould.
Aye.
And Orzali.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
and Barnes.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to number 2, formal bid award, logistics asphalt replacement. Facilities Manager, Mr. Graven.
Good evening, Directors. Chief Castantini, George Graven, Facilities Manager. Action item number 2, logistics asphalt replacement. The brief background is April 25th, procurement, purchasing, and facilities posted request for formal bid 1806. May 1st, we had a formal job walk at the job site where we had 5 companies show up for the bid. May 5th was the deadline for questions. We had a few revisions, a few minor revisions to the proposal after those questions. Today, we had the bid opening at the job site, and we landed on Central Valley Engineering and Asphalt as the low bid at $225,500. The next closest bid was Sierra Asphalt, and they were at $327,040. So based on Central Valley Engineering and Asphalt being the lowest qualified bid, we asked, our recommendation is that the board approve Central Valley for the work. And I can take any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board?
I'd make a motion, we accept.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Director Clark, if you don't mind.
Are they local? Where are they from?
They're out of Roseville.
Where, out of Roseville?
Roseville, yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Do we get a second, Mr.
Director
Chair?
Wood, do we have a?
Make a motion that
Okay,
we accept.
We have a motion,
I'll second.
and we have a second. Madam Clerk, if we can get a roll.
Director Gould,
Aye.
Orzali,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Sheets. Aye. Wood,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
and Barnes.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to action item number 3, fiscal year 2017 State Homeland Security Grant Program, Econ Development, Aaron Castleberry. Thank you very much.
Good evening, directors, Chief Casantini. I am here tonight to present a grant award that we received for fiscal year 17 State Homeland Security Grant Program. We made an application for night vision goggles for our air operations team. Currently, while they do meet night flight requirements, they don't actually have the equipment needed to safely perform night operations. So this grant would purchase the night vision goggles and enable them to perform those night operations. We were notified by Sacramento County Office of Emergency Services that we were a recipient of this grant award. And we plan to purchase 4 sets of goggles. What we're requesting tonight is that you adopt the resolution to formally accept the grant and also to amend the current year budget for a portion of those funds which we plan to expend this budget year. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the board? No, we do not.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I move that we adopt the resolutions to accept the grant award and amend the fiscal year 2017-18 mid-year budget.
Thank you very much.
I'm apparently seconding, so I'll go ahead and do that tonight. Second
right,
that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk.
Director Gould,
Aye.
Orzali, Jones,
Aye.
Sheets,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
and Barnes.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to action item number 4, equipment lease financing. Controller, Ron, and I know I don't want to say it out loud, so I apologize.
Good evening, directors. Chief Casantini, my name is Ron Empedrad, controller for the district. And before you tonight for your review and approval is an equipment lease financing with Chase Bank. This lease financing, This lease financing will provide a total funding of $2.9 million, and which we will be using to purchase a combination of apparatus and equipment, the details of which are included in page 27 of your board packet. The term of the funding is 5 years, which will require us to make annual payments of $640,000 per year. The estimated interest rate is about 3.14%, which roughly equates to about $52,000 of annual interest per year, or a cumulative interest of about $260,000 for the 5-year term of the lease. To put things into perspective, I thought now would be a good time to give the board an overview of the debt payment schedule of the district. Before I go into this, though, I'd like to point out that this does not include obligations of the district regarding OPEB healthcare or pension retirement. It just includes debt that has a scheduled principal and interest payment. The first category is our pension bonds, which for in the upcoming fiscal year, we will be paying about $6.8 million, and we will be paying off this debt by fiscal year 2026. The next category is our capital lease financing debt, which includes the current Chase agreement. We will be paying about $4.8 million in the next fiscal year, and this debt will be paid off in fiscal year 2023. And finally, we have our lease revenue bonds, and we are roughly paying about $670,000 per year for these bonds, and we will be paying these bonds off by fiscal year 2041. That concludes my presentation. Staff recommends that the board adopt a resolution authorizing the Chief Financial Officer and Fire Chief to execute a financing agreement with Chase Bank. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much for the information. Any questions from the board? Director Wood.
Mr. Emperdat, I just want to say thank you. You read my mind. This is exactly something I was going to ask you guys to do. So I appreciate this information. It's good to know that going into this vote. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Anyone else? You want to start it?
Here for a second, but I gotta wait for it first.
I'll make a motion. We adopt staff's recommendation.
And I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second, Madam Clerk.
Director Gould,
Aye.
Orzali. Aye. Jones. Aye. Sheets.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
And Barnes.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Action item number 5 will be, we'll be reporting out after closed session, so we will skip that for now and come back, go into the reports. President's report, I do not have any at this point. And Fire Chief's report, Acting Fire Chief Casatini. And if you could maybe during this, explain why you're in that seat tonight, now that you have the time. Thank you
Will
very
do.
much.
Good evening, President Barnes and Board of Directors. Greg Castantini, Deputy Fire Chief, sitting in for Chief Harms. I'll get to where Chief Harms is in just a moment. So effective May 1st, Battalion Chief Steve Turner has retired from the district. He was a longtime employee of probably 28, 29 years. So we're going to miss Chief Turner. He's going to go on to do more things for the community, I'm sure. Effective May 1st, we have a promotion of Adam Mitchell to Battalion Chief. Coming up on May 15th, we will be promoting many engineers from the firefighter rank. I'll just be patient while I just read the names quickly. Thomas Martin, Thomas DeGrace, Casey Carlisle, Igor Zalutsky, Brian Anderson, Gregory Green, Chris Gregory, David Sutton, Scott Salvatore, Kyle Rutherford, Ryan McMahon, James Lida, Bastian Galladay, Andrew Raymer, John Grindy, and Mark Rogers. Something to note out of this, that about a third of these come from our SRP ambulance service, which is good to see. So they're moving up in the ranks, and that system is strong. So congratulations to those soon-to-be engineers. We have a reclassification effective May 1st. Fire Inspector Marcus Renteria was a firefighter who was injured on the job, has now transitioned over to be a fire inspector. So on May 4th, staff and members of the board and guests attended the annual Public Safety and Community Appreciation Luncheon. Attendees were Director Grant Gould, Assistant Chief Maurice Johnson, Captain Chris Vestal, Captain Brian Gonzalez, Community Relations Coordinator Chris Dargan, Community Relations Specialist Rebecca Alessandre. From the Firefighters Burn Institute, we have Executive Director Mike Daw and our Youth Fire Center Program Manager Jennifer Cannon. So this week, Chief Harms is attending the International Fire Chiefs Conference and Metro Fire Chief Conference in San Antonio, Texas. So that's where he's at, representing the agency. Now that's an agency that is the 100 largest fire districts and departments in the nation, so Chief Harms is part of that. So he's representing us at that. And yesterday on May 9th, there was a Disaster Readiness for Safe Communities press conference. Now, in your packet, there is a handout. It's titled Wildfires. This was the topic. So on the south side of the Capitol, we had Engine 63. As a backdrop, there was state lawmakers, fire chiefs, firefighters, union officials, and elected officials attending this press conference. Myself and Chief Johnson attended for the agency. This is to advocate for increased funding, for mutual aid, for local fire responses, to secure increased funding to modernize California's mutual aid system and fund pre-positioning of strike teams and apparatus prior to these large fires. We're asking for $100 million to be put into the state budget for this year, and so hopefully the governor can see that's important. There was members from Santa Rosa, from Los Angeles, all over the state, talking about how devastating these fires have become. So the handout talks about how more frequent, ferocious these fires are and what the funding will be used for. So Metro Fire is a recipient of some of these funds when we have strike teams go out for a response, but it takes a day or two to get units to the place they need to be within hours. So we're asking for $100 million from the state to support this cause, really to help our citizens, which it's in dire need for that. Lastly, on behalf of former board member Roger Mitchell, I would like to thank the crew, Engine 111 and Medic 111, that assisted and responded and transported Roger's wife last Friday to UC Davis. He's very appreciative of the care and excellent level of service that it was provided. On a secondary note, I've been talking to Roger quite a bit. I know he's a friend of all of ours. His wife has terminal cancer. She is expected to pass shortly. So we are working with our chaplain and his family to work on the service arrangements. So his thoughts and prayers from the board, I've expressed that as well. So that is it for my report. Unless you have any questions, I'll turn it over to the operations report to Assistant Chief Wagaman in place of Chief Bridge.
Very good. Thank you, and thank you for filling in this evening. Are there any questions for the chief? If
Thank
not,
you.
Chief Wagaman. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening, directors, Chief Cassantini, Madam Clerk. Tyler Wagaman, Assistant Chief of Operations, covering for Deputy Chief Bridge this evening. Since our last report, Metro Fire's run just over 3,000 calls. 2,704 of those were medical aids. Transported 1,937 at a transport rate of 72%. Chief Cassantini alluded to our new engineers, 16 of them. They're all participating in an engineers academy this week. I actually stopped by our fleet maintenance division today where they're going strong. They're learning lots of things. They have fire engines all over the place. They have cabs lifted up. They've been doing pumping evolutions throughout our entire district. And I can assure you, in the eyes of every single one of them, they were getting the skills necessary to hit the ground running by the end of the week. And I believe they're all going to be promoted on the 15th of this month. So we're very excited for them. Along those lines, for those of us that have lived in Sacramento more than a year, it's like we flip a light switch and the weather changes. So with that being said, things are starting to warm up and drying out very quickly. Just kind of reaching out to our members in the community to remind them how dry things are. A simple lawnmower or line trimmer can cause a grass fire very quickly. Although the grass seems relatively green right now, it is burning pretty significantly. In fact, we've had 2 grass fires already today. Our members out in the Rio Linda, Alberta, just finished extinguishing a 1/3 of an acre grass fire right down the street from Station 116, so it is in fact occurring. Tomorrow we do have a wind event within the valley floor, which we're going to get some north winds, and that's going to dry things out even more. So what that has preempted us to do is declare fire season for Metro Fire. And what that does is right upon dispatch, we're going to start sending more resources than what we would normally do on a winter response, effective tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, just so we're better prepared to handle those types of fires so we can stay ahead of it. That concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you for the report. Moving on to Local 522 report out. Vice President Trevor Jameson.
Good evening, directors, Chief Casantini. Great to be here. Sorry I missed the last meeting. I had a good streak going, but had something else going on. I just want to, again, I know we talk about the labor management, and I think that's a perfect example to kind of segue with Chief Casantini said with the event yesterday. I was also down there. It was a joint labor management event. So there was the fire chiefs were there, labor leaders were there. Our new CPF president, Brian Rice, was there giving a speech, his first time out there in public on the Capitol steps, and we've had this beautiful Metro Fire engine behind him. I was lucky enough to be down there last week and at the CPF convention, and what a great event to see somebody who is, number one, he lives in the community, he is a former Metro member, great 522 leader to take the helm of the CPF. A lot of hard work went into that, especially by Brian. And he ran with Mike Lopez from who was the president of 2881 Cal Fire. But just a real show of force to show what Sacramento and 522 has, and realize that we're a player in the state political arena and also the national political arena. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome for Metro. It's going to be great for firefighters in general. I mean, CPF represents about 32,000 of the 40,000 firefighters in California. And to see one of our own in that position is a lot of pride. And so it was a fun event, and I'm glad it's over. It was, there is a political thing, and it had its ups and downs. But Brian did a great job. Brian and Mike did a great job staying on message and staying above board, which was something we can all be proud of. So I was really great. The last thing, staying on it's interesting to have the dialogue we have with between labor management. I do want to always reiterate that to you, that I feel like when I have conversations with the deputy chiefs, just one-on-one, they listen to me, I listen to them, we have good dialogue. Our labor management meetings are fruitful. We really do talk about issues, and one of the issues we talked about last time, which was hiring and EMS. And before we went to labor management meeting, one of my friends at work unearthed this study. It's from spring 2002, and it has to do with reframing EMS at Metro Fire strategies for the future. And it was authored by none other than Deputy Chief Eric Bridge, who was a captain paramedic at the time, Walt White, who was a captain EMT, who became the city chief, Jeff Rootsong, who's retired now, and also Dan Haverty, who was a great EMS leader for the region. And interestingly enough, a lot of the problems we're having today are in 2002 are the same. And I think we can use some of what they gained from studying that. And I know what came out of this was my paramedic intern program, which I was hired out of. But and I know Dr. Gould, very familiar with that. But it's interesting to look back and see that we haven't necessarily come that far. But the biggest thing for me, they talked about being busy. The call volume in 2002 was 50,000. And you guys just heard not too long ago that we ran over 100,000 calls. And we're still trying to figure out the best strategies. So we are committed to doing that. I know the fire chief is committed to doing that. And I just wanted to bring that to you guys, that we will make change and we'll make difference and we'll be part of that. And I know the chief and his staff will too. So that's all I have, and appreciate your time tonight, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
Yeah. Did you say Brian was the president?
President of
the
CPF.
Very
Correct.
good. Thank you.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you for being here. I just want to thank you and John Barzell for coming and taking the time out and meet with me and giving me some clarity and really giving it from the side of the members. So thank you for taking the time. And again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to committee and delegate reports. Executive committee, we do not have a report out, nor do we have a meeting scheduled. Moving on to the Communication Center JPA, Chief Johnson.
Good evening, directors. Chief Casantini, Mo Johnson, Assistant Chief, your Comm Center JPA representative. Our last meeting was April 25th, where we discussed the preliminary budget, and for the first time in the history of the agency, they adopted a position authorization document. So that was groundbreaking, and we're very happy that that occurred. The next meeting has been moved, and the new date hasn't been published yet. End of report.
Okay, thank you very much. In the packet, it does say May 22nd. I don't know if that's official, but if it does change, we'll know. Oh, you got it. Thank you very much. California Fire Rescue, JPA. Looks like we don't have a report out person on that one, so I will do that. Next meeting will be June 21st, 2018 at 4 p.m. At the SESC here at Metro Fire. Moving on, Finance and Audit Committee, and Director Kelly is out. Do we have anybody that can speak up? If not, I will do that. Next meeting will be Thursday, May 24, 2018 at 5 p.m. Policy Committee. Director Gould, as you always do.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, the Policy Committee gathered and received a presentation to hear about a policy about policies. It was insightful and educational, and we figured out that the policy to review the policy about building policies is effective and will last 5 years, and then we'll review the policies about policy. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you for explaining the policy. Appreciate it.
Is that consistent with our previous policy?
It supersedes the policies that reviewed previous policies.
Very good. Moving on to board member questions and comments before we go into the closed session. I'll go ahead and start to my right, if you don't mind, Director Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to congratulate Brian Rice, and I agree full-heartedly that what a great opportunity for this organization to have a leader at the state level and obviously at the national level now represent this organization. He did a wonderful job when he was here as an employee, and I'm sure and have full faith and confidence he'll do the same thing at the state level. So congratulations to him and his running mate. Really a really wonderful thing. And as was mentioned, we're getting into a time now where California looks to, flame out again, I suppose. And I'm grateful to see that people are thinking about prevention. Oftentimes we get there so late that $100 million goes up in flames literally before we can even get there. And so I hope that the policymakers at the Capitol see that this is preventative, because if we can do that, it saves a lot of changes to people's lives that I'm not confident that they ever regain, they ever get better. And so I hope that really this is something that really reflects on the preventative mindset that our fire folks have, is that they want to see these things stay pretty small. And I hope that actually happens. If not this year, that we stay to the game and really make it part of the process that California has. So thank you very much. And everyone that works for this organization, you're doing a stellar job. It doesn't matter to me which one you're doing. I know you're doing a great job, because this organization is second to none, including Suburban Water.
Very good. Thank you, Director Gould. Move on to Director Orzali.
Thank you so much. I had wondered about the leadership between ourselves and that agency. I too want to congratulate Brian Rice on this. This is a significant achievement, and for everyone who is involved, well done. This makes a real difference in the community and, in fact, statewide. I also wanted to mention, I do a lot of work with families that have lost their homes and their belongings in fires. And I would encourage people to think about, what do I want to save in my house? How do I go about saving it? Because so many of the things that I see lost are irreplaceable. And with some preparation, they could have been placed in a position in the house, in a container in the house, that might have saved them. Family photographs, family heirlooms. It's just tragic to see this stuff lost. Incidentally, if you have a home gun safe, nothing will survive in that safe. I've yet to see any single thing survive in one of those safes. So just a thought for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Orzali. Director Clark.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to congratulate Brian Rice on his new position as the CPF president. I'm very proud of him. He did a good job with 522. Also want to thank everybody for their reports, the staff for their reports. Congratulations to the new engineers on their promotion. And finally, I would like to offer some prayers for Roger Mitchell in this time of need. He's been dealing with that for quite a while, and I know he's really going through a lot right now. So I I ask that we hold him in our prayers, he and his wife. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Director Clark. Director Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Continue on the theme, just want to say congratulations to Brian Rice. It was a pleasure working with him in his role with 522 over the last few years that I've been on this board, and I know he will continue to do the great work he's done to date. Chief, thanks for the little footnote on the engineer promotions, that a third of those have come from the single role paramedic program. It's nice to hear the successes that we have coming out of that program. Also want to say congratulations to John Barsdale, sorry, John, and the Sheriff's Office for their arrest that they made on William Thomas for the fatality in the mobile home fire. Excellent work. It was great. Glad to see that published as well, the success of that published. Lastly, just a reminder, June 23rd 's Tropical Affair. If you haven't already got your tickets, get them. We had 5 board members last year. We should have more this year. And everyone else should be there too. It's just it's a great event, and it's just a absolutely outstanding way to support a wonderful organization. So better see a lot of you there. Or you'll hear about it all year between now and next June. So.
As you have leading up to. Thank you, Director.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Director Sheets.
Good evening. I wanted to congratulate Chief Turner on his retirement, and also congratulate Chief Mitchell on his promotion. Sticking with the theme, congratulations to Brian Rice on his achievement. That's amazing. All of the engineers, Mr. Renteria also, I had the privilege of working with him at the hospital, and it's amazing that this organization gets to have such a great employee. And also to all of the rest of the employees who have promoted, and my thoughts and prayers will also be with Mr. Mitchell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Jones.
Thank you. Reiterating some of the very thoughtful and touching statements that my fellow directors have made. A positive thing is the congratulations for the engineers. Congratulations to Steve Turner on his retirement. He and I go back a long way. We both worked as public information officers for our respective agencies. I think it was the last century, but it was there. And then, Brian Rice and Mike Lopez taken on the mantle of fire service leadership in the state of California. Congratulations to them. Trevor Jameson, thank you very much for that bit of nostalgia down the road. If we don't take a look at that past history, we're going to have to take a look at it to do better tomorrow. So thank you very much for that reference. It's very, very good. And lastly, again, prayers and thoughts to the Mitchell family.
Very good, thank you. The one thing about going last is all the good comments have been made. So echoing a lot of it, starting with the arson arrest. I understand those investigations. I understand the work that goes into it. To be able to prove it beyond a threshold where the district attorney will file, kudos, excellent work. Again, that's why I say it's a first-class organization. If it's there, it'll be found and you'll get there. So great job by everybody. Staging equipment, from one of my iconic figures I like to listen to, Gordon Graham, if it's predictable, it's preventable. And so if you can stage equipment to save lives, yes, that's a big number when we talk about it in the big scheme of things, but I'm glad we're moving forward with that. I hope the Capitol listens and they can dedicate some money. Congratulations on the promotees as well. And Steve Turner, I'm sure we'll see a lot more photos of him out on the waterways in his boat now that he'll have extra time doing that. But what a stellar career, and to be able to go out your own way, that's one thing we all hope to do. I just want to say thank you to Metro Fire for the job reclassification. When you have someone who gets hurt on the job, to be able to take care of your own and keep them in-house, to keep them part of an organization and let them still go out on their own, kudos. Great job for everybody working with the employee. I think that, again, speaks to the volumes. Brian Rice's winning that spot is huge for us. Obviously, that on a state level. Chief is in basically a national level. And when we talk about what we are as Metro Fire as an organization, it's not just the people on the front lines, it's the people behind the scenes making sure everything works. So again, thank you to everybody. I truly appreciate all the work that you do. We get to hear all the great things and get to brag about you in our community. So thank you. With that, we will adjourn to go into closed session. No offense, as Director Gould used to always say, we don't want to see you out here when we get back. Have a good evening. All right, call the open session back into order. Coming back to action item number 5, industrial disability retirement. Council.
Yes, Director Barnes, the board met in closed session to consider the application for industrial disability retirement for former employee Jeffrey Vitti. The board took no action in closed session and will consider that matter as part of action item number 5, which would be a motion that Mr. Vitti not be retired by the district for a service-related disability.
Mr. Chair, my motion is to support staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and second. Madam Clerk.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Orzali. Jones. Sheets.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Clark. And Barnes.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. Next board meeting is a special meeting for everybody to put in your calendars, May 24th at 5:30 PM. It will be our annual workshop. So if we could make sure everybody who is not here right now gets notice of that we are reporting here early. We are going to power through it and do our best to get done at a reasonable time. So if we could be here early on time, we'll get through the workshop. I want to thank Chief Shannon for meeting with me, talking about some of the items that we're going to be discussing this year. And I look forward to the report outs. So on that, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.